everyone, Shadow the Rat, and in today's video I'm going to be working with my rat S'more and possibly her sister Mocha, although I'm not sure where she is. And basically today we're going to be working on establishing a lure. So a lure is when your rat or other animal follows a treat around and then you can get them to do different behaviors with it, like spin, and then you give it to them as a reward. So this here is S'more, and she's the one I want to work with. Oreo here has already learned some tricks, and she's kind of just here for moral support. I do encourage anyone who is training for the first time to bring out all their rats, or at least a few of them, in order to give them some confidence. Later on, I do recommend doing training sessions alone because you don't want your rat to be distracted. But when you're first starting out, it's a good way to build motivation and at the same time make everyone feel more confident and make them adjust quicker to the area that you're training in and also the training itself. So first of all, when you get started, you want to make sure that your rat is used to the area that you're going to be training in. So you can see here that S'more is pretty used to it. Those of you who have been watching my taming series will know that she has been in here, in and out, for around 3 weeks. And the reason for that is because I was working on taming her and I had some stuff going on, so I just didn't have as much time in the playpen as I wanted. However, that being said, she has definitely adjusted, and to anyone who's having issues with getting their rat to adjust to the area they're training in, first of all, I recommend some patience and just letting them adjust at their own pace. But then second of all, I also recommend that you have a bunch of stuff out. You can see I have lots of things for the rats to hide in if they get scared, and that is really necessary when you have a prey animal like rats. They really do need a lot of things to hide in order to feel safe. I mean, some of them like Oreo here are pretty confident even without them, but if you have a skittish rat like S'more here, you will want to have lots of bolt holes because it will make them feel a lot more confident and comfortable in the area. Anyways, the other thing that I wanted to address was rats not taking food in that area. So if your rat isn't taking food in the area and not even a liquid food that they take inside the cage, then chances are they just aren't completely comfortable there yet, and you will need to let them adjust some and just work on that before you start actually training. Now when you get down to actually training, the first thing you want to do, or that I recommend doing, is using a liquid treat. So right here I have vanilla yogurt, and the rats go crazy over this. And the reason I'm using vanilla yogurt is, first of all, it's higher value, and that's going to help keep them motivated and focused, especially when they're kind of crazy and not very focused like S'more is. And it's also going to make teaching a lure a lot easier, simply because I can let the rat lick my finger as I move it forwards, and this will continually motivate and reward them for following my finger without them getting frustrated. So it's a really nice way to start teaching the lure. And a lot of people might wonder, why would you teach the lure? Well, the reason to do it is really to take away any frustration on both your part and the rat's part. So a lot of times people assume, well, my rat knows what food is, they like food, why won't they just follow a piece of food? And the reason is, a lot of them just don't know that they're going to be rewarded. So a lot of times with little kids, like if you dangle a toy above their head, and this is making me sound like a terrible person, but if you do that, then they're just going to reach up for it and try to grab it instead of, think strategically about how the heck am I going to get this toy down. And that's kind of the same with rats. If you are trying to get them to follow a lure and you don't really reward them for the steps up to following a lure, then a lot of them are just going to give up because they have no reason to continue to follow the lure. So the way we get around this is we simply teach the lure as its own behavior to start. So to start off, you're going to want to let your rat lick the treat as you move it around. And I am using Oreo right now, but I will switch to S'more when she comes back, which she just did. But yeah, I'm going to let her lick the treat as I move it around. And then I'm going to start upping the speed. I want the treat to be ahead of her for a step or two when we're turning around, when we're doing things, making sure she's doing all sorts of behaviors here, and just trying to start to keep it in front of her for a little bit more before she gets to actually lick it. So this way she learns that it's very rewarding to actually follow the lure, and it's okay not to be licking it all the time. It's okay because she's going to be rewarded, and it will happen at some point. Now the other thing you want to do is make sure you're randomizing when you reward. You don't want to reward at every end or after a certain number of steps every time, because you want your rat to think that as long as I follow it for any amount of time, I'm going to be rewarded. Anyways, after you do that a few times, and your rat can actually follow the lure for a few steps without needing to be rewarded first, then you can move on to actually teaching a trick. So the first trick that I like to teach is spin. And to teach spin, you just use your treat and you lure your rat around in a circle and then reward them. Now, if your rat is still learning the lure and you just want to get a head start on spin, or you're not planning on teaching a lure, then something you can do is let your rat lick the treat as you turn it around. However, I don't really like this method because I feel like teaching the lure is very helpful later on. And also, you see what she just did there? That's a problem when your rat isn't just following the lure and is instead just trying to lick the food, because they can be so focused on the food, they don't notice what behavior they're doing, and it can take them longer to learn it. So I definitely recommend teaching them the lure first so you can get that nice clean spin she just did there. Now, to fade it out is pretty easy. You just want to start making your spins faster. You can see she's already starting to anticipate the spin somewhat, and this is why I'm going to speed it up even more. So that time, she wasn't even following it completely, and I just want to continue doing that. That time, she was following it even less. And I'm going to continue doing that until she can actually do it on a hand cue. So that time, wow, she was almost doing it without any guidance at all. And this is the great thing about rats, they learn so quickly. And my cue is eventually going to be doing this. So I'm making a very exaggerated motion for what I want my cue to be, because later on it's going to look like this. And you can see Oreo here very clearly knows the spin cue. So again, it's just this. Or if I want the other direction, I do that. There you go, it's a good Oreo. Now, one thing you might notice is that I'm not using a clicker or other bridging device. And the main reason for that is because early on, I like to focus on just getting down a few behaviors before we go on and condition the clicker. And most of this is just because I found that if I teach a few tricks first, then condition the clicker, and then use the clicker with those tricks, they will more quickly pick up the meaning of the clicker and respond to it better in a faster amount of time than if I try to teach the clicker from the start. So yeah, I like to teach it later and just teach spin, paw, and some other tricks first. Anyways, what you're currently watching is a compilation of the videos I took of me teaching both S'more and Mocha to spin. I know that so far you've only seen S'more, but you should see Mocha in a few seconds. Now, both girls haven't mastered spin completely yet, however they are very close. Anyways, I'm going to continue doing this series for a little bit. I do plan on doing a second video on this pretty soon because I think it's going to be very helpful for anyone out there who is starting to train their own rats. Anyways, I think this is going to be a really fun series, and I hope you guys enjoy.